him makes it more difficult for him to do what he should be doing, lowering rates, but I've tried it all different ways, meaning he's been nice, he's been childish, he's been nasty. I don't think whatever he's doing is working. So, Fed chairs have long been seen as insulated from presidential dismissal for reasons other than malfeasance or misconduct. Why? Why is that? An unelected group. So here's the thing. Is it Congress? If the president can't impeach the Fed Reserve chair, why can't Congress float a law? They need either congressional oversight or presidential oversight. The Fed should not merely run amok. Like, who votes these guys? They believe they're gods of the universe. Princeton, and I'm not saying, I mean, in one sense, Powell has a really job no one would want, right? If he lowers rates and we still have inflation, he's going to be blamed for inflation, right? If he doesn't lower rates and the market goes down, he's going to be blamed for the market crash. But that being said, I think we've had other people on, like, what's that guy? Jeff Snyder and others, who really say the Fed is powerless. They really don't have the power that we think they have. That they always move too late. Trump nearly as frequently reverses course on those threats. He said, I'm not going to fire him on June 12th. I think he's literally just trying to do anything to get Powell to lower rates, but I don't know if it's a good idea to lower rates. Why? We've gotten inflation under control by the steady policy that Powell and Trump have put forth. So even though they seem like unlikely bedfellows, they're sort of working together to drive inflation down as much as they even control that sort of thing. The Fed held rates steady this week, 4.25 to 4.50 range, and forecast slower growth as well as higher unemployment and inflation by year's end. Fed Governor Chris Waller, who's been floated as a possible Trump replacement, said on Friday that with inflation coming down, the labor market showing signs of weakening, rate cuts should be considered as soon as July. So now you have people posturing, right? They want the job of the world's second most powerful person. And I mean, imagine this. You get elected to a job for 10 years and you can't be fired. I'd want that job, right? Right, Jim? Yeah. Jim is going for Fed chair. I nominate Jim. But even Waller joined Wednesday's unanimous Fed decision to leave rates on hold. So no one's rebucking or bucking Powell's 6 fellow board members or the 5 voting regional Fed bank presidents to override him. Fed decisions are typically reached through consensus, and more than a couple of dissents would be rare. Elected partly on voters' belief that he could contain high inflation, the Republican U.S. president has imposed tariff hikes in office. Powell, echoing an academic consensus, has said some of those tariff hikes will be paid for in higher consumer prices. This just in, I'm going to tell you about wealthy people are not buying real estate in Hawaii. I'm friends with a lot of realtors in Hawaii. And could that be a sign of economic slowdown? Powell's term ends in May of 2026, and Trump is expected to nominate a successor, not Powell. How would you vote Powell? Would you give him an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F? Try not to be influenced by your political persuasions. Part of me would give him an F for handling the inflation crisis in the first place. Part of me would give him an A for how he has weathered the last 6 or 7 months of political pressure and not bow to the president, which allowed inflation to cool, coupled with some Trump policies on eggs and other things. So I guess that's a C overall. So I give him an F for the first bout where he said inflation was transitory. I think he'll never live that up. I think Trump should be mentioning that. However, his handling the last 6 months, inflation looked very sticky, and it is starting to cool. So by not lowering rates and keeping interest rates pretty high, it has spurned economic activity, which is what the president wants. He wants a robust economy. But I don't mind high rates. Do you? I mean, I guess if you're a person in your 20s and 30s looking to buy a house, it stinks. But I like higher rates for seniors who live on a fixed income. But we do know something. I think a year from now, rates will be lower. I think we will see a July rate cut in the area of a quarter point if economic activity continues to slow. But I don't believe the Fed has control. You know who I believe has control? The rich, those who are wealthy. Not in a bad sense like a Bernie Sanders, but it seems like wealthy people are buckling down. One of my indicators, and it could be a lagging or a leading indicator, I don't know what the indicator is. Real estate tends to lag. But something that is a bit troubling to me is there was a beachfront home in Hawaii that I talked to a realtor. It was going for $8.5 million. It was sold for $5 million. Imagine you have to take a $3-4 million pay cut. That's a sign. That worries me more than anything else. I'm actually fairly positive and upbeat on the economy. The tariffs, people said it was going to cause a depression. It hasn't, right? The market has stayed relatively flat among the tariff tantrum. We had that big dip a few months ago, and then we rebounded. So what say you give me a call, 800-321-0710. I'd really love to hear from you. If you have questions on stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, whatever question you have, no question is a dumb one except that you do not ask. So give us a call. What would the grade you would give Jerome Powell? Try to be fair. Give us a call, 800-321-0710. And during the break, call me at 888-988-JOSH for my free retirement reality check. The book is normally valued at like $14.99 on Amazon. You could buy my book, or you could get it free for scheduling and keeping your no-obligation review. Give us a call, 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674. We'll be back after these messages.
Josh and his team at the Jelinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the Financial Quarterback and count on Josh Jelinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jelinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org. Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jelinski, the Financial Quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check.
Hi, we're back. This is Josh Jelinski, the Financial Quarterback. What is the grade you would give Powell, Jim? And unmute yourself so people can hear you.
6.
6 isn't a grade. You mean through a 1 through 10?
Yeah, a 6.
You got to realize, I don't think he's doing, if he lowered rates right now, now he could lower them a quarter point just to see how it goes.
Yeah.
But then what people are going to do is they're going to wait because they're going to say, oh, recession's coming next year. I'm going to wait till they lower again to buy that house. I think that's what's happening in some of these economic circles. So you give them a 6. I guess I would agree with that on a 1 to 10 scale. So what is that, a C plus? C minus?
Yeah.
And so the Fed leaves the rates unchanged. I don't know, but I'll stick with my C. Do I agree with Trump? I think he is. The problem I have with the Fed is, and I think this is what Trump is saying, is during the 8 years of the Obama administration, they kept rates really low, way beyond necessary to juice the economy, which eventually led to the inflation, and then they didn't really do a great job in parts of the Trump and Biden administration. But it's like, well, why was he juicing the economy? Now, to be fair, Powell was seen as a conservative. So a conservative kind of wants to be independent of political pressures. But I think the Fed has lost nearly all credit. My personal thing, just to end it, end the Fed. And you have like an AI or a computer with a formula. There's something called the Taylor rule and other rules, which is what they're supposed to follow. So if you talk to a Fed chairman, they say, oh, we follow the Taylor rule. We follow this rule. We follow the Psalm rule. We follow whatever rule they want to follow. But follow a rule and just stick to the rule. Then everybody knows the rules. The stock market knows the rules. And just, we can save all that money from the government. No, I have good clients who work at the Fed, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna get fired for saying this, but I don't see the point. I really don't. And then if it was a formula that everybody knew, then you wouldn't have this fighting, you wouldn't have this political uncertainty. Do you like my idea, Jim?
Yeah.
So the Taylor rule, we'll go into the Taylor rule, but I always heard they say they followed the Taylor rule. Then they didn't follow the Taylor rule under the Obama administration. So to me, then I said, you know what? The Fed is just a political rule. So what this says, the Taylor rule has a specific target inflation, typically 2%. So it tries to set interest rates by whatever this formula. It was proposed by economist John Taylor, and it's a formula. Everybody would know the formula, and it's I, which is the target Fed funds rate, equals the current inflation rate plus 0.5 times the output gap, which is the actual GDP minus potential GDP, times P minus 2, plus 2. But you couldn't change that. And it would save so much money. We're into saving Doge and all that. I would just end the Fed. What is the point? Okay? So give us a call now, 800-321-0710 if you have a question for me. And we're going to talk about heartfelt stories of money. Last week was Father's Day. What was the best lesson you learned from your dad about money? I want to hear from you. 800-321-0710. 800-321-0710. What did you learn from your dad about money, Jim? Do you know? Do you remember anything?
No, I don't.
Did he say money doesn't grow on trees?
Yes, that's for sure.
What? You've heard that, so that's a lesson. I always say the tree is daddy. Money does grow on a tree. The tree is daddy. It's I love when my wife gives all these gifts and they thank mommy and they don't thank daddy. Did you ever have that?
Yep.
It's like who am I? Chopped liver?
That's it.
So money doesn't grow on trees. That's a lesson that Jim learned from his father. Another one that I learned from my father: we don't own the electric company. I have to tell you that around Jim. There's always these lights on.
Oh, that's where you get that from.
Yeah, we got. Did you ever hear that?
Oh, yeah.
We don't own the electric company.
They shut the lights off all the time.
So, one thing I stopped that my father always used to have the heat on very low and say, hey, in winter, just dress warmly. My father-in-law still does that. And my kids, like, they like to roam free, you know, in shorts and a T-shirt in the winter. And whenever they visit their father-in-law's house, they're like, this is cold. You know, that was something like, I think I changed where the average temp, let's say when I was a kid, was like, I want to say it was like 58 to 61, you know. Whereas with, as I've aged, you know, 68, I like it a little colder, you know, 67, 68, 69, 70. If it's really cold, maybe 71, 72, 73. So you don't own the electric company, you don't own the gas company. That signals, hey, be mindful of your utility bills. So give us a call. What lessons have you learned from your parents that you would want to instill to your kids and grandkids? I want to hear from you. 800 321 0710. 800 321 0710. Kroger is closing 60 stores. Can you believe that? I don't know why. What are they seeing? What are they seeing in the economy? Could it be people are kids today, I've heard, kids meaning, you know, people in their 20s, getting old, are saying, does your children in their 20s, right?
They're older than that.
Older than that? 30s?
30s, yeah.
I'm hearing that home delivery services, I mean, like we buy groceries on Instacart. Do you, that, you know, DoorDash, things like that are going the way and people aren't going to grocery stores as much. Are you hearing that? Or is that?
We don't do that. We don't deliver. Fearful of that.
Why?
What could they could do to your groceries?
Oh, that's a good point. Hey, there you go.
And I like to see the stuff.
They could poison you. You know, we wash them. You wash them. That way if they put some arsenic on your peach.
I think in the beginning when COVID hit, we did. Of course
Oh,
you
I
had
love
to.
Instacart, but that's a good point. Way to add to my paranoia, Jim. So, I think Instacart, I will tell you, we have a lot of seniors and shut-ins who listen to the show. You need to learn Instacart is a great resource. Some of you who are over 85 need to stop driving.
Definitely.
It's not safe above a certain age, maybe at least 90, if you're over 90. But there are apps where you can order groceries and they show up at your house. ShopRite has them. Instacart has them. So give us a call. Are you using home grocery remodels? We're going to talk about the Beach Boys. I'm thinking of Good Vibrations, Jim. Good Vibrations and money. And the passing of Brian Wilson gives an excellent tale for how to not leave an estate. Brian Wilson's kids are in line to inherit a massive fortune. Now, we always love to watch a train wreck. You know, you say you don't, but every time I'm driving and there's an accident, everybody's slowing down. Oh, is everybody all right? And I don't know why that's the case. Psychologically, Jim, I think they say it because it's like a displacement thing or something. I don't know. But Brian Wilson's 7 kids, so Brian Wilson is like me, 7, are set to inherit a lot of money, but it's not as big as you think. We're going to talk about that when we return. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check. Josh and his team at the Jelinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the financial quarterback and count on Josh Jelinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jelinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org.
We're back. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, taking your calls at All Matters Financial at 800-321-0710. If you have questions on stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, whatever question you have, no question is a dumb one, except the one from your father. No. So Jen is calling about lessons from her father. Go ahead, Jen. What lessons did you learn financially from your father?
So my father's timeless advice has always been to live below my means and to plan my estate carefully. And he emphasizes that true security comes from personal responsibility and foresight. And he often reminds me that I should not rely on the government in terms of Social Security when I retire, and instead I should focus on managing my finances wisely, being self-reliant, and taking control of my own future. So I always appreciate his insight when it comes to securing a financial future for myself and my family.
Wonderful. Well, that's good. That's a good father.
Yeah, he's my parents are the utmost responsible adults I've ever met in my life, and I'm a work in progress to be just like them.
Wow, that's great. I want to be like your parents. So I will share what I learned from my parents later, but that's great. Did they get into tactical, like open up a Roth or open up an IRA, or not really, more the principles?
No, they definitely encouraged me to, when I was starting out in my career, I'm an educator, to open a Roth and, take advantage of any kind of 403B through work or any savings vehicles. No, they're very, my dad is very much on top of all of that stuff and gave me great advice when I was starting out. So I've done the same with my daughters, and thankfully he's still around to encourage my children to save for their future as well, since I'm a work in progress.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes,
So
I'm very lucky.
awesome. Next we have Virginia, lessons from her parents. See, I loved it. We did this show, we did this question years ago, and it was very popular. So I'm glad people are sharing lessons from their mom or dad. Go ahead, Virginia.
Yes, my parents were very frugal, especially my grandmother, who I grew up with, and my parents, both of them, encouraged me to save money, not overspend, not live beyond my means. And one of the sayings that my mother came up with was, "If you don't need it, don't buy it." So that's something that I've encouraged my children to do as well, and to keep them from going into debt and using credit card debt, especially during their generation of growing up.
Wow. And that's a great one. Don't get into debt. If you don't need it, don't buy it. We buy a lot of things that we don't truly need.
Yeah,
So
we
that
accumulate a lot of stuff.
exactly. So, any other lessons you learned from your parents that you'd like to share?
Well, that was
That's the biggest
the one
thing.
lesson that I did learn was not to overspend. As I said, if you don't need it, don't buy it. My father was in business for himself, and my mother supported his business, and so I learned that lesson from them because of that experience that they went through.
That's awesome. Well, that's beautiful. A lot of you learned lessons from your parents who went through the Great Depression, and many of those lessons seem to have been lost on future generations. And we're going to talk a lot about money and what you can do. One economist, top market strategist, says his base case is still a 25% drop in the market, which is pretty crazy. We'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about 13 mistakes investors with $1 million can make and how to avoid them. Also, why I don't have a single dollar in the stock market. Not me, why someone doesn't. What do you see when you hear these types of things? Are they legit? Are they used to sell books or sell financial services? And I will be sharing lessons from my parents. But we want to hear from you. Give us a call, 800 321 0710. 800 321 0710. If you have questions on stocks, bonds, annuities, mutual funds, whatever question you have, no question is a dumb one, except the one that you do not ask. So give me a call. What lessons did I learn from my parents? Bill in Maryland. I learned a lot. Learned a lot about faith, family, what not to do with money. I think we sometimes learn from our parents how to have regret. I'm going to talk to you about a motto at our firm, all heart and no regrets. When we return, this is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check. Josh and his team at the Jelinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the financial quarterback and count on Josh Jelinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jelinsky.org. That's JALINSKI.org.
Okay, what lessons? So next hour we're going to talk about why I don't have a single dollar in the stock market. That's not me. And what do I think of stuff like that? And Peter Berezin of BCA Research is calling for a 60% chance of a recession, a 25% drop in the market amid rising trade uncertainty, rising delinquencies, and a weakening labor market. Berezin of BCA Research maintains a bearish outlook despite a tariff pause, and why that ultimately may or may not matter. But first, let's talk about Bill and Marilyn, my parents, who've since gone to be with the Lord. They're amazing. They're amazing. They're an amazing tale of virtue, of life, and the ever-present realization that you may not live as long as you think. You see, from as early as I could remember, my family had financial problems. They were from the town of Mafunzalo. My funds are low. And they had health issues. And I'm going to tell you what I learned from them. But first, Henry, lessons from his father. Go ahead, Henry.
Good morning. Thanks for taking the call. From when I was maybe 7th or 8th grade, my father came home from work, opened up his pay envelope, and he would give me the money to go pay all his bills. And I did that from when I was started in 8th grade all through high school. So I knew exactly what it cost to live. And I knew how to budget the money to get all the bills paid. And I have practiced that and taught my children to do the same thing. And I think it's a lost art with everyone paying directly online and all that kind of stuff. But having your children help you pay the bills every month, have them fill out the check, you sign it, etc., is a great way to learn.
That's awesome. I think something we did with our kids is a project called the Stock Project, where they pick a stock they like and they follow it day by day. And one of my kids picks Amazon every time. The other one picks Costco. One of them picked eBay and was kind of disappointed that eBay didn't. They liked business. She liked eBay's business model, kind of getting a deal. So those are great lessons, Henry. So what I learned from my parents, so imagine growing up and you get a call at 11. Josh Jelinsky, please report to the principal's office. Did you ever get that call, Jim?
I might have.
And that call was shocking to me. I didn't know what happened. They said, oh, your dad had a heart attack, rushed him to triple angioplasty. You had that call, right? You had a sudden issue.
Yes, I did.
But you were a little older. My dad was 40 or 41 at the time or something. He was in his early 40s. And I was 11 or 12. And this was before these things were kind of routine, right? It was when they cracked. Did you get your sternum cracked, Jim?
Yes.
Oh, you did? So they cracked his sternum. It did a whole... But it seems like today, triple bypasses and all that stuff are easier to recover from than they were in the early 90s. Like, it was like a big deal.
I would want to.
And it was like 6 months of a hellish recovery. But they didn't think he was going to make it at first. And then it was a rough recovery. And it scarred me because back then you only had the doctor said, oh, you have 10 years to live, if you're lucky. Now all the advancements, you could live 30 years after a cardiac event. You go in, you just get checked out. They give you a pacemaker, you know what I mean? They clean out your artery, they give you a valve, they give you a pig valve, and you're off on your merry way. And thank the Lord, my dad lived 30 years after his cardiac event. So we had him from about 41 to 71. But we didn't think we would. And I would continually get calls to the principal's office at 14. Josh Jelinski, will you report to the principal's office? Again, I wasn't a bad kid, so I was like, what? I was sweating. What's going on? It's like when you get pulled over on the side of the road, you're like, officer, I'm not speeding. So here's the thing. I talk about the lessons of my parents in my book, The Retirement Reality Check, which will be free to you if you schedule and keep your no obligation review at 888-988-JOSH. David said, I believe he was 38 years old for his first heart surgery. And my father was good. I'm going to have a lot of lessons from my father. One was keep the heat really low. The other was we don't own the electric company. I'll give you more when we return, because the impending death of your parents gives you lessons that only trial really stings. So we'll talk about that when we return. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH.
WOR and WAXQ HD2 New York, the #1 preset on your car radio and on the free new and improved iHeartRadio app. Free. Never sounded so good.
New York has a voice.
I've really come to like Larry Minty in the morning. No axe to grind, unless he's got a really good reason to grind an axe.
Always the voice of New York. 710 WOR.
An iHeart radio station.
It's 80 degrees at 10 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Bill Trefiro. Columbia University graduate student protester Mahmoud Khalil has been released from an immigration detention center in Louisiana. Andrew Whitman has more.
A federal judge on Friday ordered Khalil released on bail. He had been detained 3 months after the Trump White House declared him an anti-Semitic Hamas supporter who should be deported.
Whether you are a U.S. citizen, an immigrant, or just a person on this land, doesn't mean that you are less of a human.
He was the first of a number of students who ended up being taken into custody over pro-Palestinian protests. Khalil's a legal permanent resident and was the last high-profile demonstrator held in detention.
As President Donald Trump weighs American military involvement in the war between Israel and Iran, Iran Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warned the United States today not to enter the conflict with Iran.
That would be very unfortunate, and I think that would be very, very dangerous for everybody.
That's Araghchi speaking to reporters in Istanbul as he returned from stalled peace talks in Geneva. A 15-year-old boy is expected to be okay after being struck by lightning in Central Park during Thursday's storms. Yassin Khalifa told ABC Eyewitness News that he'd been with a group of friends out for a picnic, was leaning up against the tree when it was struck by lightning. That lightning knocked him unconscious, and he suffered severe burns around where his metal chain was on his neck. He was checked out and treated at a local hospital, and he says he feels lucky to be alive. The government is expected to rest its case on Monday in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. A summary witness is expected to return to the stand after testifying on Friday that he looked over documents that describe damage left at a hotel by one of the Combs freak-offs. The defense expects to rest its case by Wednesday, and the judge says closing arguments could start Thursday. Combs is not expected to testify. A record number of Americans could be traveling this 4th of July. AAA is predicting over 72 million people will venture at least 50 miles from home over the holiday period from Saturday, June 28th to Sunday, July 6th. In sports, the Mets were blown out by Philadelphia 10-2 yesterday. The series continues with night games this weekend. Another tough loss for the Yankees as they fall to the Orioles 5-3. That's 7 losses out of their last 8 games for the Bombers. afternoon game today.
Here's your WOR Weather Channel forecast. An extreme heat watch will be in effect from Sunday afternoon through Tuesday evening. The heat index may climb into the triple digits, up to 86 today with an isolated thunderstorm. Otherwise, some sunshine to dry overnight with a low of 74. Sunny and hot tomorrow and on Monday. High temperatures should soar into the mid to upper 90s. I'm meteorologist Jeff Marr.
Next News 11, bulletins at once. Wake up with Menti in the morning, 6 to 10 a.m. on Monday. I'm Bill Trefiro on 710 WOR.
Tired of losing money in the stock market roller coaster? Frustrated with the government taxing you into oblivion? Worried about inflation? How do you prepare for so many financial uncertainties? Welcome to the show that will help you develop your game plan. The Financial Quarterback with Josh Jelinski. Josh is a noted financial advisor and president of the Jelinski Advisory Group, and he's here to answer your questions. Call into the show at 800-321-0710. 800-321-0710. Now, let's kick off your financial future. Here's Josh Jelinski.
Hi, this is Josh Jelinski, the Financial Quarterback. Lessons from your parents about money. We just ended the season where we celebrate moms in May, fathers in June. I want to hear from you. What are the lessons you learned from your parents? That death could come at any moment. Now, we have a lovely email, and it's from one of my dearest listener friends. She goes, so another Saturday morning surprise. I was listening to your radio program. I decided to try YouTube, and here you are. The radio, she was saying, had some interference. So then she decided to try YouTube, and here you are. But the volume on YouTube is not loud enough, Jim. We've heard, Tom, we've heard this complaint, so you got to pipe the YouTube up. Don't know if you can make any adjustments or your end, but I'm at max on my computer. Anyway, you really made me laugh. She goes, this old broad should stop driving at 85. Am I to assume that you'll make a pilgrimage to Long Island just to see me? Yes, I will. When you hit a certain age that it's unsafe for you to drive, or I'll send a car for you. My dad told me to always reach out to people that know more about money than I do. Therefore, I have you. Thank you. You're sweet. After you go off the air, I'm heading to a gardening seminar. That's lovely. Love you. Have a wonderful weekend. Well, I love you too. You're a sweetheart. And I always love your emails. And it's so great that we could do a show reaching, millions in the really all over the world now with Apple and Spotify. So if you have a phone, an iPad or an iPhone, you can find us on the podcast app. If you have an Android, you can go to Spotify, download The Financial Quarterback. Do me a favor and subscribe. And if you like the show, we would love you to leave a good review. Sometimes competitors leave bad reviews or something, phony reviews. So give us a call, 800-321-0710. Lessons from your father or mother. And I remember the woman who just sent me the email. She was saying, hey, my father and I, we would have breakfast and we'd go through the stock ticker. What do you do now? Like, you don't have a newspaper anymore to do that. You do, I guess you could subscribe to the Wall Street Journal in print. Eventually that will go away. Has not gone away yet. One thing you could do is set up a paper trading account. We'll do that for you for free. Where your kids, we have a software where your kids or grandkids can learn how to follow different stocks and trade mythically. So they learn the principles of the market and how you shouldn't go it alone in retirement planning. So give us a call, 888-988-JOSH, if you would like that. It's called paper trading. So it's not actual money. Now, here's what's kind of cool. You could give them $10,000 bucks or 5,000 or 1,000 or $500 to your child or grandchild. We'll help you set this up. And I think all we charge is like 1.25% for it. So if it's like, what is that? If it's 500, $1,000, I mean, it's nothing. So basically, it's just for our time to set up the account. So if you give them $1,000, you know, it's $12.50 to just have you know, Jim set up the account. And the beauty is, what I would do is I would train them. I'd say you buy one stock or a fund. That's where you put the money. That's real money. And then you have them trade the fake account and see which one does better. And they'll learn different principles. Technical analysis, strategic analysis, fundamental analysis. Those are big words for fundamental analysis is just looking at the numbers. Does this company make money? Is this a company that I could see myself holding for 5 or 10 years? Do I like the business that they're in? Then, technical analysis is not for everybody, but it's the charts and graphs, moving averages to try to mitigate risk. And we have strategic programs, which are more for the buy and hold investor, and we have tactical, which is more for somebody who wants to make more by losing less. Now, realize we can't make any promises. Nothing is guaranteed in the market. But what I'm saying is there are certain risk management strategies, raising cash, adding percentages to gold. If things fall below a certain line, maybe you raise more cash. Things, you know, there's moving averages and things of that nature that you can trade the market technically. Now, some people say, well, I've done technical analysis and it hasn't worked. I would say you've done it with the wrong mindset, meaning you're doing it to beat the S&P. And I'm not saying it's going to beat the S&P. It's a risk management technique. So it's to have you not vomit out your portfolio when the market goes south. So there's a lot to talk about, but I want to hear from you. Lessons from your parents on money. What was the greatest lesson you have from your mom and dad? Well, I was talking about mine. And one was that life can change in an instant due to a health issue. So always make sure your kids or grandkids have disability insurance, because a disability can ravage a financial plan if you don't have disability insurance. So you should have disability insurance up to 2/3 of your income. One of the first things I did when I started making money was buy an own occupation disability insurance plan, because you could always work into your 70s or 80s, right, Jim? Yes. Except if you're disabled, because you can't work if you're disabled. You know, after a while, you know, you're going to have to go on disability. And if you're above a certain age and you got to work, so you need disability insurance. It is one of my top things. I'm using stevia for my morning coffee. Anybody else like stevia? What's your sweetener of choice, Jim?
I don't have any.
Oh, good. It's probably good for your heart.
Yeah, try to stay away from sugar.
Are you allowed to have caffeine?
Yeah.
My father, he couldn't have caffeine with whatever. He always had that decaf for some reason.
They just replaced arteries in my...
Oh, he was worse. Huh. He got to a point where he couldn't have any caffeine anymore. It did something to his heart. I know I had to give up energy drinks. You know, I gave them up. I swore them off. I was getting like anxiety, you know.
Well, they're more than coffee, isn't it?
Well, a coffee is about if you have double shot of espresso, 150 milligrams. You have 3 of those a day. That's 450 milligrams of caffeine. I dialed it back to 2. So I'm doing about 300 milligrams of caffeine. I think it's a fair amount. But I think, at my high, I was like 600 milligrams. It was getting a little too much. So they also put other junk in that I don't know, I think it was bothering my esophagus. And so I'm done. I'm swearing off energy drinks forever until I have a late night drive or something, or I really need them or something.
Go back to coffee.
But it's very, I like this taste of this one. Ghost Orange Cream. It tastes like a creamsicle. Like from Stewart's.
Yep.
Those orange creamsicles. And no sugar, so it was good for my figure. So, did you have a lesson you had from your grandfather you wanted to share, Jim?
Well, we had a summer house, of course, on a lagoon, and with stones. And as a kid,
Where was the summer house?
Antelope Shores.
Okay.
So the whole yard was all stones, little stones. And of course, as a kid, you're on a lagoon and you want to throw the stones in the water. So my grandfather would always say, "You know how much those stones cost? They're a penny a piece you're throwing in there." That's the only thing I remember from my grandfather.
And this just in, the penny is being abolished.
I know.
And why I think that's a bad idea. So you will hear from President Trump and others, I get what they're saying. Nobody uses a penny. It cost 3.7 cents just to make a penny. So it's a way to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. It's a little wasteful. So I commend that. It costs 3.7 cents for a penny to be made because of the copper. However, I don't want to untether money from reality, meaning I want coinage. I would actually go back to getting rid of paper money and having a dollar coin or a $20 coin. Why? Or a $100 coin. And maybe abolish the 500 and the thousands. Why? Because I want people to realize, back in the day we had coinage because a penny used to be like 1 troy ounce of gold, or, there was some representation of the money to actual money, gold. And we've completely dissolved all connection of our dollar to real things. And people wonder why they feel poor making $100,000 a year, combined as a couple. It's because they are making our dollars worth less. Inflation is stealth taxation. What is the thing that has inflated the most, Jim, since you were young, that just astounds you? That's another question. We'll open it up to our listening audience. What astounds you about inflation? Is it the stamp? Is it a loaf of bread? Is it a gallon of milk? Is it a carton of eggs? Carton of eggs, I think, would be mine. Eggs are now like $10 for like 8.
No, they've gone down a little. They've gone down.
Not the ones I buy. The organic,
Right. Grown on a mountain somewhere.
Yeah, pasture raised, I like the BJ's has these amazing pasture raised. What's interesting? I'm an egg connoisseur. The Costco eggs, the organic Costco, are not as good as the BJ's. Did you know that? I'm a big Costco fan. They have, it's funny, they must have the same supplier for the organic cage-free, but if you go the pasture-raised organic.
You're saying BJ's has a better egg selection on that?
I think they have a better egg selection. It's one of the few things that they do better, and they also do better organic half and half.
And frozen foods.
But Costco beats BJ's on steak, seafood, and like nuts and kind of like their sundries, they have all these little treats. But I use both. I like going to both. You like going to both, Jim?
Yeah, BJ's is a calmer store. It's never as a madhouse as Costco.
So we're going to take a break, and then we have Aiden. And then I want to also get some grocery shopping tips. So you got to try, when you go to BJ's, okay, do yourself a favor. Just splurge for once, Jim. Buy the expensive eggs from BJ's. They are like the old school, like eggs from a farm. They have like the orange yolk. And it's worth the money. Trust me. It's like, have a fried egg with a little salt and butter on the pan. Ooh, it's like gourmet. You don't even need to go out to eat. And the yolk. But it's funny, the Costco organic does not have that bright orange yolk. It's like the yellow. So that tells me they're like super mass producing that. You know what I mean? They may have organic feed, but they're not like the old school method. Is that true? I'm not like an egg. I never raised chickens, but that's how I know I have like, oh, this is a really good egg.
I think you should start raising chickens. You've got some time on your hands.
Got too much time on my hands. So we'll be back. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check. Josh and his team at the Jelinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the Financial Quarterback and count on Josh Jelinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jelinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org.
We're back. We got Aiden with a message from his parents. Go ahead, Aiden. Lessons from dad or mom.
I just wanted to share something my mom had taught me growing up about managing money and stuff. My parents sat me down when I was in high school and basically showed me how to do the taxes, and that was like the first time that I was exposed to how much money my parents were making and also how to do government paperwork. But specifically what my mom really instilled in me was as soon as you're able to work, you got to work. And that wouldn't have been very effective if she didn't explain to me why you have to work. So my mom and my dad did very well for themselves and never took any debt. We took vacations, we had new cars, we had nice clothes, we went out to eat. But the house itself wasn't very luxurious. The cars weren't very luxurious. They were very disciplined. So we had everything in excess, but we didn't have immense luxury. And as I started earning more money and getting into the working world, I realized how important it was that my parents showed me before entering the working world, one, how much money they were making to give me that financial transparency, but also to sit me down and show me that the result of being diligent with your money and continuing to live within your means and invest and do all of these things will translate to material possessions, life experiences, and less stress. That's it.
That's wonderful. It's great. Love it. Great parents. So there is a talk like don't talk to your kids about money. I've disagreed with that. I will tell the kids like I wrote a massive check to the IRS. I want them to know about the IRS. I want them to know about inflation. I want them to know about things that Dave Ramsey said says that are idiotic, which don't get me started, Jim. Things that he might say that are good. Things that various people say that are just boneheaded. Why life insurance is a key part of a estate plan. How ETFs. I want kids to know there's different styles of investing, right? You might like to buy Costco, right? Because the company's there. The best portfolio. This is my number one financial tip. You know what my number one financial tip is, Jim? Buy disability insurance equal to 2/3 of your pay, because of my parents. Number 2 tip. Don't pay taxes on money you're not spending. That's common sense, but nobody follows it. I'll talk about that later. Number 3 tip. Man, it was really good. I was just thinking about it. Number 3 tip. The best portfolio is the one that you don't vomit out. One time I got a call from a client. And the client says, I'm selling everything. Why? Because this time is different. And it hurt me to the core. And you get those every once in a while, and you can't persuade the client to not sell. You try as a financial advisor, hey, whether it was the COVID crash or the 2008 crash, and there's always one or two that they sell. You know why they sell? You need an advisor, I think, this is after 20 years of experience, that it's kind of a strange thing. But an advisor, if you say sell everything, we got to sell stuff. We can't just not sell. If you give that directive, we'll try to talk you out of it. But I almost believe you need an advisor who could tell you off when you are prompted to sell everything. Because people have short memory spans and they forget the fear. Think of the fear of March 2020. Think of the fear of 2 months ago. And there's something called the VIX, which is the fear gauge. And so some people will say, construct a portfolio. My tip 4 is construct a portfolio that beats the S&P 500. No, because what I found is the S&P 500, not everybody can live by that. One year it's up 20, next year it's down 20. There's wild mood swings in the S&P. So you need a portfolio that you can live with if the market's down 20%. So that's my 3rd tip. Pick a portfolio that you do not vomit out in the stock market roller coaster of life. That good tip? Good tip number 3. Yeah. Next up, we have Ralph, who wants to talk about chickens.
All right.
Go ahead, Ralph. Are you a
I'll
chicken?
tell you, Josh, this has got to be the first call you've ever gotten on eggs in your career. I asked you, I made sure that it was okay to speak about this.
Yes.
You mentioned about eggs, and you're a connoisseur. So am I. They used to have such a bad name in the past. Cholesterol. We stayed away from them. They ended up being, Josh, one of the greatest foods on earth. If you can have an island and you could be there by yourself, and you just had a few laying hens there, and you had some you had the eggs free flowing, you'd be okay. The pasture raised egg is preferable because of what the actual animal eats. The bird has to eat well for you to eat well, and all those conventional eggs, nutrition-wise, they're pretty useless. And they taste like cardboard. They have no taste whatsoever. So from one egg lover to another, you're doing a great job.
There you go. Here's the scary thing. Pasture Raised, that company that does the butter and the eggs, they were found to even add soy to their feeds. So you got to even watch these pasture-raised companies now.
That's true. You got to watch them like a hawk, yeah.
And I think the test is the color of the yolk. That's how you know you have a legit egg. Am I wrong?
No, you're exactly right. But sometimes, here's what I heard also. They actually put a color into the conventional eggs to make the yolk appear darker and fool you. So this is something you have to watch out for also. Do you eat beef?
Yeah, I love beef.
Oh, yeah.
Grass-fed beef or just conventional?
Grass-fed I prefer, but I go for a Costco steak too. I like Costco steak.
I've never been into a Costco. It's good, huh?
Yeah, I think it's grass. I think it's grain, but whatever they do, they're doing a good job. Like, I can tell a good steak from a bad steak, and it's a pretty good steak, so.
About it. Now, when I eat conventional meat now, it tastes funny to me because I've gotten used to the grass-fed beef, and I can't go the other direction anymore.
The grass-fed beef, though, is not as good. It's a little more gamey. It's a strange flavor, but I try to do it because it's supposedly healthier for you, you know, but the grain-finished, grass-fed grain-finished is the best tasting, to be honest, where they give them mostly, and because I think it's something about how it tastes. But I'm not that much of a steak connoisseur. I just like a good, filet mignon from Costco. I mean, a really nice steak place. The place in Atlanta. Did you go to that place in Atlanta, Jim, with us? We were in Atlanta. Jim, you should really
Twice I missed it.
walk off. Take a long walk off a short pier. Jim, you missed the greatest steak of my life in Atlanta. Whatever they did, that's what I want. Oh, it was really good. The service of this place was horrible, by the way. But their steak was so good. But it was a place in Atlanta. Then we went to the best rated steakhouse in Atlanta. The steak was not as good. But a lot of these great steak places that are like, where they're steak connoisseurs, they need a certain marbling that the grain does. So they generally do like a grass-fed, grain-finished. But I just know the place to get the cheapest pasture-raised eggs that taste good and I think are high quality is BJ's. Also, of course, though, your local egg layer is always the best. But it's funny, I have a client or friend of mine who gives me their grass-fed eggs and they don't taste good. So I think you have to have a certain feed, right? And they put different things in the feed to make it taste a certain way. But yeah, eggs are a superfood. I'm trying to convince a loved one that eggs are a superfood and that they have no issues with cholesterol. Do you have any proof on that, though? I want to share like a medical journal. If you got anything.
Well, for I don't know if you lift weights at all.
Yes.
But for a bodybuilder, we used to eat a dozen eggs a day, maybe even more.
Yep.
And we were young when we did that. We used to have a gallon of milk and a dozen eggs, and all the protein we could eat, and we were perfectly fine. Now I'm 64. It's a little bit different, but I mean the eggs were the center, the center of all our diet. I mean that's what we did. They were very cheap. You could buy a dozen eggs for about $1.50, and we were okay.
That's great. So you were doing the Arnold Schwarzenegger diet. Okay, next up, we have Ralph. Ralph will be joining us talking about lessons from his father or eggs or whatever you want to talk about, financial questions. Give us a call, 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH. We'll be back after these messages.
Josh and his team at the Jelinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the Financial Quarterback and count on Josh Jelinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinsky.org. That's JALINSKI.org. Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinsky, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check.
We're back. Wow. We got our yoke researchers are in the house. Tom is like AI in a human form. We have a bunch of articles to reference, but first, Ralph, go ahead. Go ahead, Ralph. Okay, Ralph, you can call us back. You dropped off. 800-321-0710 if you have financial questions. The random, let's talk about eggs. Now, why does it matter, right? Why do I care about these things? This is why I love stocks. Well, you look for who is the largest egg producer. And maybe you buy that stock. And you learn about stocks. I'm not telling you to go buy Cal Maine or whatever. But we're looking at stuff at that granular level. We're looking at lines out the door at Costco when we want to buy stock. We're looking at different things of technology when we're looking at chips. That's called kind of deep value investor. So this is the overview. The pigments. Orange to red may result from a diet very rich in carotenoids, including foods like red peppers, carrots, or pumpkin. Green or brown represents acorns or cottonseed meal. I don't want that. I don't want that egg.
Wait.
White or colorless results in a diet very low in carotenoids like white cornmeal. Gross. I don't want that one. I'll take orange to red. I like the carotenoids. Golden yellow to orange, often found in free-range eggs, indicating a diet rich in fresh greens, vegetables, and even marigolds. Oh, there we go. I like that one. Bright yellow, common in store-bought eggs, and suggests a diet of corn and alfalfa meal. Pale yellow usually indicates a diet mainly of wheat or barley. While darker yolks are often associated with a richer flavor, this is subjective. I think it's relatively objective. The color itself doesn't significantly affect the nutritional value of the egg. That doesn't make sense to me. I think by the way, this is just from Google AI. It could be wrong. You know, here's the thing. AI, I know everybody says, oh, it's taking over the world. It really seems to me just like a better version of Google. You know what I mean? Like, it's not accurately, it's going to replace Google. Although Google has so much data, their AI is, Gemini is going to be brilliant. And when you do Google searches now, they give you what the AI says. But you know what I'm saying, Jim? Yep. It's really just search expanded. Now machines will learn different
Google
things.
on steroids.
Like I have a Tesla, right? Paid all this money for an upgrade. It stinks. I got all these problems. You know what? I loved Elon's cost cutting, but I think he should go back to making his car better. Because I really think they missed an opportunity on the Cybertruck. Everybody wanted one. Now nobody wants one anymore. I think my goal, I'm going to get a Cybertruck for like half off. Yeah, Jim. That way when you try to hit my car with a gun, I can speed off.
You had the first generation of Teslas.
No, I had like the 5th generation. I bought my car in 2017.
But when did they come out?
2012. The
They were
mass
that?
consumption models were out.
Wow.
I love my car. But I don't know. I call and I say, okay, the tech isn't working, and then you got to go in. And their service stinks. You pay that much for a car. But I sort of have a love-hate relationship with it. I think I'd buy another one because I think the Cybertruck, I'm waiting for that to go way on sale because nobody's buying them anymore. Did you hear about this? Everybody thinks it's so ugly.
It is.
I think it's cool.
It's like
Come
a
on.
Tonka toy.
Yeah, it's like a. It's cool. Yeah, that's a good question. Do you like the Cybertruck? That's another good question. Chime in if you like it or not. Wow. I'm going online. Who the heck would pay $14.75 a month for an ugly car? I wouldn't. I'd want to get a deep discount. You know what? I heard they were giving them away. That's not apparently true. I went online just to see how much it would cost, right? And apparently the discounts are not. They were there. I was online one time. Like, that's ridiculous. Who's going to pay that for a car? Oh, you know what it is, though? The long-range one is down to 62 grand. They were selling that for like 80, 90. So that's actually not a bad deal compared to the Ford. You know how much the Ford new F-150 costs?
Yeah, they're
Souped up. So I guess might be a good deal comparatively. You don't have to pay gas, but 62 grand's a lot. I don't know. But it did come down significantly. So give us a call, folks. What lessons have you learned on money from eggs or your parents? I gave you my 3 big financial tips. Another financial tip 4, buy life insurance young and when you're healthy. I've never met a widow or widower, or my parents for that matter, with all their health issues, my mother had health issues as well, who said, you know what, I wish I didn't have life insurance. They all wanted to leave a little something to their kids when they meet the Lord. Right, Jim? Mm-hmm. That's something, the Bible says a godly person leaves an inheritance. And in the 90s, does anybody remember the old Larry Burkett? Do you remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
What was it? Was a show called? I forget what it was called. He was sort of the precursor to Dave Ramsey. And he does the BTID scam. BTID scam stands for buy term and invest the difference. And this is what happens. They tell people, now, by the way, term insurance is great when you're young, you're in your 20s, you're healthy, and you have no money. But you should always buy term that is convertible to a good permanent policy. Because here's what happens, Jim. Life gets in the way.
Always.
And, you know, people have a heart attack. People have a stroke. People have cancer. And then guess what happens? You're uninsurable. And you can't get insurance after a certain age. Now, we help people into their 70s get insurance, so we could find some carrier that will take you. If you want help on that, at 888-988-JOSH. But tip 4 is get term life insurance that is convertible to permanent, because you never know, you might need it. And don't cash out of a good whole or universal life product without doing an audit of the policy. Because what happened to my parents is they got sold some insurance, cash out insurance, from somebody who went to church with them. Then they heard the Dave Ramsey, Larry Burkett spiel of, you know, cancel your insurance. You ever hear that?
Yeah.
Now, when you go deep, I'll be fair to them, they would say cancel it and buy term for coverage, but that's not how it gets translated. Because they're going into these church seminars and they're trying to manage their debt, and then they find the easy thing, which is cancel your insurance. And then guess what happened? All the health woes that I talked to you about earlier. Punctured lung, talked about the second trip. Did I finish the second trip to the principal's office story? No.
No.
Josh Jelinski, will you report to the principal's office? 14:15. Not again. My dad had to get medevaced to Jersey Shore Hospital. Punctured lung. Massive accident. Decimated them with medical bills. They had to sell their house to pay the medical bills. Functionally homeless. Taken in by my brother-in-law and sister for 6 months. Always grateful for them. Where the four of us slept in one bedroom because we didn't have a place to stay. So, thank you for their, humility and grace to take us all in. And what that taught me was the BTID scam. You should only do that. You should only buy term, invest the difference, and cancel your old whole lives if you have term approved to 20 times your salary. That is convertible to good whole. But it gets heard incorrectly, right, Jim?
Yep.
And people have this zeal to get out of debt, but then they forget they still have to insure their family. And by the way, I'm for getting out of credit card debt. I'm for protecting your family, and I'm for investing in the stock market. You can be for all of those things, right? Like they're not mutually exclusive, but for some reason that's how it gets translated in these churches, which is why I have a little issue with it. So we'll take your questions when we return. 800-321-0710. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check. Josh and his team at the Jelinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the financial quarterback and count on Josh Jelinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jelinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org.
We're back taking your questions at 800-321-0710. Just had a bite of a breakfast sandwich during the break, and we went to the break too
And it was
quick.
an egg sandwich.
We got back. An egg sandwich. Probably not that good for you, but I love the double smoked bacon sandwich.
Smells good.
It has a nice, like, pastry. By the way, I look at things at a granular level. Over the years, I've made a lot of money in stocks looking at like companies that had a unique competitive advantage. Does that make sense? They're doing things differently. So for some reason, I would never buy an Egg McMuffin. Although I will tell you, back in the day, like 20 years ago, I had a thing for the bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. Sorry, it's not kosher. At McDonald's. It was you ever have that?
My favorite is the sausage McMuffin with egg.
I'm telling you, the bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit tastes way better. Probably more of a heart attack, too.
Yes.
But I had a thing where I had a hankering. And I swore they put chemicals in the biscuit to have it have an addicting quality. Like they say that with like Chick-fil-A chicken, they put a little MSG, so that has that umami flavor. And Chick-fil-A has that peanut oil and the MSG. They do something. Like you can't have that because then you have a hankering for it. It was something like that. I swore it off. Don't have it anymore. But I look at things at a granular level, like our coffee price is down, our coffee price is high, are they doing something with a bakery? Are they mass producing something that really has a unique texture, flavor, and is as good as anything you'd get or make yourself? You know, you want to look at that. What paint are the contractors using? Got that from a good listener friend. What are the, what are the stores that have doors, in a retail economy? It's like Costco. Now, I'm not telling you to buy it, and we own it for our clients. But, if the lines at Costco start to die down, then I'd know something's up in the economy. But it's still packed every week with people buying colon-cleansing quantities of almonds. And so that means we're not heading into a recession yet, right, Jim? That's right. So, everybody's trying to get you in a state of fear. It's like...
Fear sells.
Fear sells. It's like people would say the old fear and greed sells in financial news. You have to learn to hack your brain. I did a show one time on the amygdala. Do you remember that one?
No.
Or the amygdala. I think I said it wrong. It's a part in your brain that gets the cortisol and the fight or flight mechanism. And in investing, you have to learn to turn off the amygdala. You know about the amygdala?
No.
See? And you have to learn to control your emotions. Same with investing. It was same with life, but it's harder in life than it's easier in investing. So Peter Berezin. So you'll see these articles, 25% loss still possible. Berezin has lowered his recession outlook. He still expects an economic slowdown. So he's saying his recession probability is down from 75% to 60%, and we would expect the S&P to trade down to around the 4,500 level. If that really rocks you, it could happen, right? I would say there is a change of plans that your portfolio needs. You need more cash, more bonds, more treasuries, more fixed asset classes. And there is no better time to get more conservative than right now because rates are still pretty high. You can get 5-year, no fee, fixed annuities yielding like 5% or more right now from A-rated carriers. So you could even get 2-year programs or 1-year treasuries if you don't like tying your money up for long. So for that money that you don't want to lose in the stock market, another tip 5 is do not have in the stock market what you are unwilling to see go down 20% in a year, because it could happen at any time. But I mean, firmly, I think there's a lot of pro-growth policies. I'll give you a good bit of news when we return from the break. There is good news arising from chip manufacturers in the U.S. to the tune of $1 trillion. We'll talk about that when we return. This is Josh Zielinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Josh and his team at the Zielinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the Financial Quarterback and count on Josh Zielinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, Call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jelinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org. Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check.
This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. So that's the type of stuff we look at. Jim, did you want to share your story of a glorious burger? Do you remember the show we did on burgers?
Yes, with that guy.
With that guy, it was like the hamburger connoisseur of the U.S. But he was like a stockbroker too. It was kind of funny. It was something about the Hamburglar, or no, I don't know. You know, what was that guy? He was a great guest. We got to have him back on. So was this the first time? So Jim went to, we're not going to mention the burger store in the air. We did it in previous, but until they become a paid sponsor of the program, we're not going to mention them. But you tried my favorite burger joint, and it was as good as advertised, right?
Yes.
I know good food, Jim. You can't deny that. Yeah, they opened up one in Brick. They just did, yeah. So they're real good. I heard they put a little sugar in the burger, or brown sugar or something.
I think it's an Angus type burger,
It-
and it's not frozen.
It's Angus, never frozen, and they're doing. The guy who was the burger connoisseur understood why I liked it the best. I've tried other high-end burger chains. I don't think they're as good as this one, because it tastes like a gourmet burger from like a 5-star restaurant. In fact, I don't think I've ever had a burger I've consistently liked better than that burger. Ever. Meaning that it's a repeatable experience. And that's what we like when we're looking and evaluating certain things. So there's so much to talk about. We did a lot of lessons from mom and dad. And here's the other thing from my mom and dad. My dad, I also learned by what they didn't do. My father always had regrets. We grew up in a town, and there was this marina, and there were these houses on a lagoon. And he's like, Josh, I could have bought that for 10 grand or 30 grand or something very low. And I was always of the point, like, why have these regrets? Live your life in such a way that you have less regrets. Why didn't you do it? Why didn't you take the chance? You were young. So our tagline at the company is all heart and no regrets. We're not making any guarantees when it comes to investing, but we do want you to plan to not just hoard your money, but to enjoy it. Not just to have a saving plan, but a spending plan, because you can't take it with you, right? And that is why the show is called The Financial Quarterback. We help you engineer your life so that you get off the sidelines of your own life and you buy that piece of property that you've always wanted, so that you don't have the regret of I would have, should have, could have. My father was one of the smartest men I ever knew. And part of what was hearing his tales of regret, I mean, he had financial regrets, health regrets, was to try to engineer my life to have as little regret as possible. We all have regret, right? You know, all things we wish we would have done differently. People say, oh, no regrets. Sometimes. When I say it, I mean engineer your life so you have less. We'll help you do that. Call us 888-988-JOSH. no promises on stock market performance that could go down, but what we're going to do is engineer a game plan so that you are protected from death. You and the people you love, the cause you love, are protected from death, disability, healthcare planning, estate planning, Fabio-proofing your money, which we'll talk about in future shows. So much that goes into a financial plan. Give us a call, 888-988-JOSH, for our 5 investing playbook discussion. We go over investment, tax, estate, legacy planning, income planning, healthcare planning. 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Jelensky Advisory Group. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications, including 5-Star Wealth Manager, Advisory of the Year finalist by Senior Market Advisor, and top of the $1 Million Round.
It's 82 degrees at 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Bill Trefiro. Mohammed Khalil has been released from a federal